And welcome back to Overtime, everyone. As we mentioned, special guest in the house, a guest that really needs no introduction because not only is he well known in the Delta, but all over the state. We're talking about Tavares Johnson, set to begin year number 2 as the head football coach at Mississippi Delta Community College in Moorhead, and also a very successful high school coach a few years back, but now he has transitioned into the college ranks, going into, once again, year number 2 in Moorhead. Thanks a lot, Coach, for taking time out here on Overtime.
Listen, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right, year number 2 for you compared to year number 1. I know last year you went through your growing pains, not only as a coach, but as a team. But now you're getting ready to transition into year number 2. Any difference with your mindset from then to now?
Absolutely. Coming in last year, we got a late start, and I guess we came in feeling a little rushed to implement and install everything that we needed to do to be successful. Since the last ball game, all we've done was fine-tune, repeat, fine-tune, wash, and repeat. And the coaching staff has done a tremendous job. And, just trying to build the brand back where it needs to be. Because again, in 1993, we're celebrating this year, I think our 20-year anniversary. 30th year anniversary.
National championship.
We won the national championship in 1993. So we're looking forward to honoring those guys, number 1, by our play on the field, number 2. So I'm just excited about the season. We learned a lot from last year, and we just going to, take what we learned and move forward this year. And I have to give all the credit to the players. Number 1, they could have easily transferred out. I'm speaking of my incoming freshmen last year, who's sophomores now. They could have easily transferred out and went some other place, but they stayed here, and they weathered the storm. And I'm just happy to see their fruits of their labor once we kick off this Thursday.
And you mentioned about transfer. I know transfer portal, we hear that with 4-year schools and with the junior colleges too. I know kids, they go from one JUCO to another JUCO.
Correct.
And then we go into just recruiting in general. And the knock that I've heard over the years since everything has been opened up across the state when it comes to recruiting athletes here in the Delta is that the athletes coming out of high school, they want to spread their wings and venture outside the Delta. When it comes to recruiting, how do you change that mindset and keep those that are homebred here in the Delta?
Right. I think you just said it. Number 1, home. There's no place like home. Having the opportunity to play in front of your friends, your family, your support system, I mean, that plays a lot on the kids' mental and psychological development. So when we go out to homes and everything, that's what I sell. I sell the fact that number 1, you're gonna have an opportunity to compete now. And lastly, we're gonna take care of our students. We're gonna make sure they graduate. Our programs, Mississippi Delta is rated very high academically, and we have incredible instructors and support staff in place to make sure that our student athletes grow not only on the field, but off the field as well.
If I had some eligibility, I'll be ready to sign up right now, Coach, just listening to you. We're gearing up once again, year number 2. You say you like this team tremendously, returners, newcomers. Fill us in on this squad and why you feel so good about the squad.
Again, to piggyback off of what we just talked about, we got a lot of local kids who's going to make an impact on our ball club this year. Incoming freshman Troy Griffin from Gentry High School, quarterback. I mean, need I say more? Yeah. He had a dynamic season last year, did a lot of great things, and we were just blessed and fortunate enough to get him. We have kids from Cleveland Central, Miles Griffin, Sir Trotter, all those guys are going to be impact players for us. On the defense side of the ball, we have players that right here from South Delta, Jordan Johnson, Aaron Robinson. And see, by them staying here, they have their support system and their family can come out and watch them as they matriculate through the program. And I just look forward for big things from those guys. You know, we have guys right from Itta Bena, you know, Jarvis Sherrod, you know, Humphreys County, Jacoby Franklin. So we have a number of players that we're happy that they stayed here in the Delta, and they put the work in the off season. So I know that they're going to have a tremendous season.
Well, Coach, we're going to take a break right now, and that kickoff too, 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Going to take a break right now, but when we return, we're going to go back in time, talk about his high school days. Very successful high school coach here in the Delta. We'll be right back with much more. Tavares Johnson here on Overtime. And welcome back to Overtime, everyone. Again, our special guest, Tavares Johnson, second-year head coach at Mississippi Delta Community College. His Trojans set to kick off the season coming up on Thursday at home against Southwest, and they will do so at 7 o'clock. But before, MDCC coach, you were successful on the high school level, and obviously tremendous run, various schools across the Delta and even beyond. But when we go back to the initial stages of you wanting to become a head coach, how far back does that go and what got you started?
It goes back as far as me playing high school football. You know, I knew that football is something that I always wanted to do. And I tell my players to this day that you can go pro in football without being a professional football player. You know, so use this game and to elevate your life. So I knew I wanted to do something in football. And you know, just watching some of my mentors navigate themselves and mold myself and mold my other teammates, it just really lit a fire within me to, you know, wanted to make an impact. I feel like this is my way of giving back. You know, having the opportunity to mentor young men, and I don't take that lightly. So I've always wanted to be a football coach.
Is it a calling?
You know what? In today's society, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say, yeah. I mean, it is not something that you're gonna wake up one morning and say, I'm gonna be a football coach.
Yeah.
I mean, you have got to prep yourself, because the game is always evolving, and whenever you stop learning, you know, you stop existing. So each year I got to fine tune, refresh. I tell my players all the time that in order to be an expert in something, you're gonna have to read consistently over, I think, 10,000 hours. I read somewhere in order to become an expert in something. So I try to read something related to football every single day, and all the success that we've had, the run that we had, that's where it's contributed to. You know, it's just the process of learning, keep learning how to relate to players, learning how to coach, learning how to fundraise, learning how to build a program. So all that just all wrapped up in one.
Just say you look back on this journey throughout the high school ranks, what are some of those memories that stand out? And I got a feeling I know one of them. You talked about it earlier about
raising that, man, there's no feeling like raising that gold ball.
And that was done at Hollandale.
Done at Hollandale.
And what made those back-to-back state championship seasons so special for you? Players, the camaraderie, just
all of it.
The community.
The community, the camaraderie. Man, there's no place like Hollandale, Mississippi. I'm telling you. They will get behind you and get behind those players, and because now that second state championship probably was my fondest, I would say, because we was always ranked number 3 or number 2. We would never rank number 1 until we actually raised the gold ball.
Wow.
Going into the game, we picked to lose against that Lumberton team. But, you know, I showed the guys the press clippings, and they rose to the occasion and played. And then we were playing for something bigger than ourselves that second time around as well. We lost to Tavion Reynolds to brain cancer on that.
That's right.
You know, so we were playing for something bigger than ourselves. And that experience alone, man, it just really changed me. And it made me put things into perspective. You know, that this game could really help people achieve some of their goals that they want to achieve in life. And I just thank God for the opportunity that the board of directors and my president and my athletic director gave me at Mississippi Delta. And I just want to make them proud.
Coach, it's now time for us to take our final time out, but when we return, we're going to dive into a very interesting topic that has been at the headlines of a lot of publications, a lot of newscasts, sportscasts over the past year or two, and we're talking about mental health and coaching today's athletes compared to yesterday's athletes.
Yes.
We'll be right back with Coach Tavares Johnson on that subject as we get ready to wrap up overtime. We'll be right back. And welcome back, everyone, to Overtime. Our special guest, Tavares Johnson, MDCC second-year head football coach. Coach, we teased just a minute ago about coaching today's athletes. It's
right.
different from when you were coming up in the ranks. And we're dealing so much now today with mental health. An interesting thing, too, about coaching on the JUCO level, you're grabbing young men, 17, 18, 19 years old, that are getting ready to make that transition into manhood.
Correct.
So you're dealing with not only that aspect, but also other aspects with mental health. How has coaching changed in terms of coaching athletes today compared to, say, 15, 20 years ago when you started?
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. It has changed tremendously. Nowadays, our student athletes, we live in a microwave society. That's what I normally say to my players. And football is not a microwave game. It's a process game, and it takes a process in order to become a winner or to build a program. It's a process involved, and it don't happen overnight. But you know, dealing with student athletes now that want that instant gratification, you know, we have to do things differently than what we've done in the past. You got to sell them on the fact that it takes time to build yourself into a tremendous football player. But in short, you know, it's very different. You're dealing with the mindsets. You know, they have access to a lot more than what we had access to. And, you know, we just want to help them become the best version of themselves, identify their needs and some of their wants and deal with it.
You hear about tough love. And nowadays it seems like the athletes, they're sensitive to tough love.
Correct.
So do you have to change the way you maybe might criticize or come down on a player, because sometimes they take a step back and say, I'm gone, coach. I can't deal with this type of coaching.
Right. Well, you have to identify, and I challenge my coaches and myself. We identify each player for what they are and for what they can take. You can't teach and coach every player the same way. So I learned that in my teaching days. We make sure that we, treat them with respect first of all. Respect is the key. So we never want to downgrade a kid. We never want to make a kid feel unwanted, unwelcome, because we do realize that the kids are not as mentally tough now as they were in the past. So we just try to fill that void in their life.
And Coach, you talk about just having mental toughness, and I have to go back as we get ready to close. Go back a few years ago when you were coaching Simmons. I think it may have been that state championship season.
Yes.
First state championship season.
Correct.
And you were unfortunately involved in a serious automobile accident where you broke your spine, if I'm not mistaken.
Broke my back.
And you were in a wheelchair.
Yes, sir.
Couldn't walk at the time.
Right.
But yet, less than a week after the accident, you were on the sidelines coaching in a wheelchair. Why and where does this fortitude come from when you look back on that moment of your life?
I look back on that moment, my wife was really upset with me, first of all, and my mother at the time. I think that car accident was on a Monday, and the game was on a Friday, and I had to sign myself out the hospital. It boiled down to, Steve, I couldn't ask my players to do something or to push themselves past the point of pain or the breaking point or to do something that I wasn't willing to do myself. So again, you know, we got to be the examples for our student athletes. We got to be the beacon light so that they can emulate it. And I just could not ask them to go out there in the field of battle and perform if I wasn't there.
Wow, wow. Well, a true leader definitely measured by the example that he sets, and you definitely have set an example that is very high. We appreciate the time, Coach. Appreciate the knowledge.
I appreciate you
and
for having me. Thank you.
Wish you well. Thursday night, Mississippi Delta's season opener at home in Moorhead. Kickoff 7 o'clock.
Don't forget about Wednesday. Come out and meet the Trojan Wednesday
at
6 p.m. in the Coliseum.
Gotcha.
Come on out. Be my special guest.
All right, gotcha. We're going to close out the show, and thanks for watching once again on Overtime. Tavares Johnson joining us. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of your Sunday evening and great week in the process. Good night.